I used to love working at the cinema. It wasn't glamorous or anything, but on a busy summer night, there was this constant buzz, people laughing, the hum of a dozen different movies playing at once. It made the long shifts go by faster. But after that one night, I started hating the late shifts. It was a Friday in the summertime, one of those nights where every showtime was packed. I was working concession, serving an endless line of customers. People were impatient, but I was used to it. At some point, maybe around 7 p.m., she stepped up to my register. She only asked for a small popcorn. Her voice was dry, like she hadn't spoken in days. I rang her up as quickly as I could. "That'll be $6.50, I told her. She didn't move. She just stared at me, her dark eyes fixed on mine. She reached into her hoodie pocket and pulled out a large sum of coins, her hands shaking slightly. As I took the money, her fingers brushed against mine. They were ice cold. She was off. She looked like she was in her late 40s, dressed in a faded green hoodie, despite how hot that night was. Her hair was greasy and stringy, hanging over her face, but it was her teeth that really caught my attention. Yellowed, rotting, some missing altogether. When she spoke, the smell hit me like a brick. It made me shiver. I handed her the popcorn and turned to the next customer. But she didn't leave. She just stood there, clutching the popcorn box, staring at me. I forced a smile and told her to have a nice night. Still, she didn't move. The guy behind her cleared his throat, finally made her turn off and walk away. No thank you, no reaction, just gone. I tried to shake it off. Weird customers weren't exactly uncommon, but something about her stuck with me. I saw her again about an hour later. I was cleaning up near the theaters when I spotted her in the hallway, standing by theater 6. She wasn't watching the movie. She was just standing there, staring at the back of the theater door. The popcorn was still in her hands, untouched. I hesitated before asking if everything was okay. She slowly turned her head towards me, and once again, she hit me with that awful smile. That terrible scent of her breath reaching into my nostrils. I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't normal. It was too slow and too deliberate. Her lips pulling back to reveal those awful rotting teeth. I took a step back. I asked her, trying to keep my voice steady, if she needed any help finding her seat. But she didn't respond. Just turned back around and continued to stare at the door. I wasn't about to argue. I figured maybe she was waiting for someone, so I left her alone. A while later, my shift was near ending. The crowds had thinned out, and the late night movies were the only ones left playing. I grabbed a broom and went to start cleaning the theaters. I had just stepped into theater 6 when I saw her again. She was sitting in the back row. The theater was empty. There was no more showings for that room. The popcorn was still full in her lap. She hadn't eaten a single piece. The room was empty, a part of her presence being there. I told her she had to leave. She didn't blink or move. She just sat there, staring at the screen. The hairs on my arm stood up. Something felt wrong. I took a cautious step closer, but nothing. I pulled out my radio to contact my co-worker Tony, to get him to help assist in getting her out of there. No response. Just static. When I looked up, back at the woman, she was staring at me. Her mouth wide open, wider than it should have been. Her jaw unhinged slightly, like it was broken. I dropped the broom and bolted. I didn't stop running until I reached the lobby. Tony was there by the counter. He looked up concerned. He asked me what was wrong. I turned, pointing back towards the hallway, and told him about the woman. He frowned, asking what woman. I described her to him. Green hoodie, late 40s, rotting teeth, sitting in the back row of Theatre 6. He gave me a weird look, but decided to come check it out. Tony entered Theatre 6, and when he returned, he had a confused look on his face. What he told me still freaks me out. He said the room was empty, but the emergency exit door was left wide open. I went in there, and the woman was nowhere in sight. The theatre was empty, no customers, nothing. But in the very back row, sitting on the seat where she used to be, was a box of small popcorn, still full. After that night, it's been weird working there. From time to time she'll appear, by the window peering inside. My co-workers find it weird, but she doesn't come inside or cause a disturbance, so they just ignore her. And eventually, she leaves. I think I might leave this job soon. Throughout my whole day, I stress about work, just because I fear I'll see her, looking through our windows again, with that unhinged smile. After that night in Theatre 6, things never really went back to normal after that night. I kept working the late shifts for a while, and sure enough she kept showing up, just by the window. It was never anything dramatic. No knocking, no shouting, just her face in the dark, half hidden behind the glass, watching, with that crooked smile and that wide, unnatural jaw. Nobody really seemed to care. Some co-workers mentioned her in passing, about how that weird lady is out there again. But she never came inside, never did anything, so people stopped paying attention. I didn't. I eventually quit, only a few weeks later. And then one morning, I stepped outside my front door, and sitting on the concrete was a box of small popcorn, full, untouched. I tried telling myself it was a prank from my co-workers, or a coincidence, but I swear my blood went cold. The box was identical to the ones from our cinema. Same faded colors, same smudged logo, same crumpled edges. I tried to forget it. A few months later I left for college. Different state, new place, clean start. A whole year went by. I didn't think about her. Didn't think about that awful smile. Until last week. Outside my dorm room, On the street was a box of small popcorn. Same kind, same shape, same exact box from back home. It didn't make any sense. The local cinema here uses completely different packaging. My friends invited me to see a movie at the theatre near campus, and sure enough, the popcorn boxes were nothing like the old ones. That box in front of my dorm, it didn't belong here. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about it. That stupid popcorn box, just sitting there. So I started searching. Checked online for any other theaters nearby. Maybe one had gotten old stock or shared suppliers. Nothing. I called Tony from my old job. He sounded surprised to hear from me at first, but when I asked about the boxes, he remembered right away. He told me the popcorn containers we used at my old job were sourced from a local print company, a small local business. They didn't distribute outside the region. No other theatre in the country used them, especially not one in a different state. So how did it get here? I haven't seen her yet, not since college started, but now I'm looking over my shoulder again. I check the hallway through the peephole before I leave my room. I flinch every time someone walks by my window at night. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's all just a coincidence. But deep down I know what I saw, and I can't shake the feeling that she's still watching. That sooner or later, she's coming back. With that unhinged jaw and that crooked smile.